everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am Jen, and this is Fundie Fridays, and this is my attempt at a casual look. Thought I'd address that right off the bat. Today's episode is actually a re-release of my original Bates video and then the sequel. Both of them got viciously attacked by conservative snowflakes. Okay, and I had my free speech trampled upon because of Lawson Bates. So I am going to re-release those videos together, and I'm going to do a little commentary or whatever. Like, I'm going to pop in and give you fun facts about the making of both of those episodes. James and I are traveling a bit this month, so I'm going to be re-releasing some old videos. That way you've got something to look forward to on Friday, and I don't have to do that much work. So that being said, here is my first Bates episode. I believe it came out in 2019. Here we go. So if you couldn't tell, that title sequence was a reference to Reservoir Dogs by the critically acclaimed foot fetishist Quentin Tarantino, and the reason for that joke is because my friends and I were actually having a fun little girls' acid trip sleepover. Oh gosh, this might have been the weekend that inspired Fundie Fridays, because I was just showing them clips of the Bates show just for fun and explaining things to them for fun. So we were watching the episode of the Bates where the girls go to New York to find a wedding dress for one of the damn daughters, and somebody made the joke that when they were walking together it looked like the beginning of Reservoir Dogs. That's what that's a reference to, and I always was a little butthurt because nobody got that joke, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it's because I'm fucking old. And one more thing, I did get copyright claimed for using this song, so I'm gonna have to use a different version. Yeah! Yeah! Looking back on the track for a little green bag. Got to find just a kind of losing my mind. Outside in the night, outside in the day. Looking back on the track, gonna do it my way. Outside in the night, outside in the day. I'm Jen, and this is Fundie Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about fundamentalism while I do my makeup. Today I'm going to talk all about the Bates family, who are known for being the more charming version of the Duggars, really. They also have 19 children, a TV show, and ultra-conservative parents. The difference being their show is actually fun to watch, but they are just as bigoted and backwards as the Duggars, so let's begin. Billy Joe Callahan was born October 6, 1966, and Gil Bates was born January 1st, 1965, in South Carolina. The two met at Anderson University and then got married December 19th, 1987. The story goes that they originally didn't even want children, that they would let the Lord decide the size of their family. And Gil's family is certainly not quiet about it. What I meant to say was they originally didn't want to have children, and then they became quiverful and decided to let the Lord decide how many children they would have. But I didn't know how to edit videos, and also I couldn't remember like 3 or 4 words at a time, so I had to keep being like, the Bates were a family from Tennessee. They love God. So anyway, that explains that. Certainly not quiet about how they feel about his large brood.
Jamie is like, if she thinks, like, she just gets really crazy, like when a lot of kids come in.
I forgot to mention that I got, what the fuck? Which side is it on? You want to know how I got these scars? Sucking your mom's dick. I can't take anything seriously. I got copyright claimed for this clip. It's from Bringing Up Bates, and so in order to remain monetized, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the part of this clip that matters, which is the grandpa talking shit.
They're all over the place. The refrigerator, I guess, is open 3,000 times a day. Come in and get another drink. Get another drink.
Before they had TV money, the Bates family was very poor. They lived in a small house and dressed in hand-me-down and homemade prairie dresses. According to Free Ginger, Gil has flat out stated that he takes his family to the emergency room for regular doctor visits since they can't turn you away for non-payment. I just want to talk shit on Free Ginger for just a second. At the time when I was first starting making my channel, I think I commented on some sort of help thread and I was like, am I allowed to say that I got information from Free Ginger? And then they all yelled at me. I think they called themselves the Collective Uterus or something. I don't know. I just thought I'd bring that up because I quit quoting Free Ginger after that because people were getting snippy with me. So who's the fucking #1 source for Fundie Snark now, huh? I mean, on one hand, that's kind of America's fault for our shitty healthcare system, but it's mostly Gil's fault for having 19 children and no way of paying for their healthcare. I do want to say that I understand that it is problematic to say stuff like what I just said about why have all these kids if you can't take care of them, because that's very much like, don't breed them if you can't feed them, which is fucked up rhetoric. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. But after becoming a Gothardite, he started a tree cutting business where he employs his sons. Gil now works for iblp, and I can't find a source for when he started working there, but it has at least been since 2014. He quickly climbed up the ranks to be on the board of directors, and he even sent his daughters on overseas missions with known sexual harasser Bill Gothard, but more on that later. The Bates have raised their children in the typical Fundie, sheltered and backwards way. They have little to no privacy and have security cameras in their house 24/7.
I can look and see what's going on in the living room, in the front yard, on the side of the house. When I'm up here, I can tell if the kids are sneaking cookies or getting into trouble.
Boys are also not allowed to use the internet without a sister present.
I think that's one of the things that was always a challenge. As every generation in life has come on, there's new opportunities for good or for evil.
Yeah.
And so the children, we talk about things. We do a lot of talking. The whole family, it's an open book. I mean, everybody talks together, and we try to put things in place to protect them. We don't have internet inaccessible. I mean, it's accessible for those, but like our boys, if they ever own it, they have to have a sister with them or somebody. And so
Accountability.
Accountability is the key to long-term success.
Girls must wear skirts and dress modestly. Even after they are married, when they visit, they must dress according to house rules. But boys are not held to the same standard. The kids are allowed to go to college, even though it is the unaccredited and incredibly draconian Crown College. And for more information on Crown College of the Bible, watch the video that I just put out last week, because their fucking president is trying to have a KKK garden. Jobs, but they are the approved female professions, such as cosmetologist and nurse. The Bates kids also practice hands-off courtships just like the Duggars, although they don't quite use the same language. Tend to have a longer special friendship phase of their relationships and even call their significant others girlfriend and boyfriend. Several of the kids have had failed courtships, which isn't really that crazy. I mean, normal people have relationships that end in breakups. What is hilarious is how serious they make these relationships out in the first place and how awkward it is when things don't work out. Like Zach's first courtship that includes fringy early 2000s photo editing software, and Nathan's failed courtship with sassy New Yorker Ashley.
And I love you a lot.
I also got copyright claimed for this clip, so I will instead summarize it for you and then show you the best part. This woman, girl, I don't know her age or gender. Shit. Maybe, anyway. And what it is Nathan asks his special friend to court or whatever, and she's from New York and she's not into that country lifestyle, and it appears like she's not really even into Nathan either. He's like, I know you said you'd never wear a pair of cowboy boots, so I got you one. And she's like, oh, yay, great. It's weird. And they're doing it in the middle of an ice skating rink, and like people are trying to get around them.
I thought we'd get you something to help you fit in with our culture a little bit.
Oh,
We'll let you wear these around,
oh my goodness.
and we'll see if you like those. I know you like Indian stuff, so we try to get you some like feather jewelry.
I forgot about that comment. Bro, what the fuck is wrong with these people? On their show, Bringing Up Bates, they show the creepy dates with Kelly Jo and Gil, giving their daughters purity rings and the guarding of their precious V-card.
We've been trying to plan a time that we could come with you and just share our heart.
Yeah, so I got copyright claimed for this clip as well, but in it is a clip of Gil and Kelly Jo taking Carlin on a practice date or whatever to talk about purity, and she gets her purity ring, and it's just really gross. It's the same kind of weird daddy shit that we're used to seeing. I will guard your innocence, and all I ask in recompense is that you know the truth inside your father's heart.
And I want you to keep it to the day that I hand you off to some fine young man that loves God.
The family also employs a variation of the buddy system, where Kelly Jo hands off her most recent baby to her daughters to raise. And on another one of these Duggar Bates crossover episodes, you can see all the horses that the family owns. Now, I'm not a certified horse girl, but while doing research for this video, everyone on Free Ginger said that these horses looked too skinny and were not being taken care of properly. So if you think these horses are malnourished, go ahead and sound off in the comments. I have been told by several certified horse enthusiasts that those horses are indeed too skinny, and a lot of people get horses and don't take care of them because they think they're like dogs or something. I don't know. I've never had a horse. My neighbors had them when I was growing up, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's fucked up. Feed your fucking horses. And despite Kelly Jo having 2 adopted black sisters, she is not the most racially sensitive. They have 2 children that are named after heroes of the Confederacy, including Stonewall Jackson and Nathan Bedford Forrest, most known for starting the KKK. So it turns out that I may have, in fact, made that up. There is no proof that these boys are named after heroes of the Confederacy. It just so happens to be that their names are similar to people that were in the Confederacy. At least used to have a room in their house honoring these people. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, that's heritage, not hate, but can you honestly believe that the Bates aren't waiting for the South to rise again? When pressed about her weird racism shrine, Kelly Jo deleted the pictures off her blog and declined to comment. In 2012, the Bates family got their own TLC show called United Bates of America. It had an amazing theme song. You know I gotta do it to him. But it was canceled due to low ratings. Not forget that the Bates family has a love-hate relationship with iblp. iblp is the Institute of Basic Life Principles, founded by Bill Gothard. They have a homeschooling program, conferences, and Alert, which is a militia by way of Bible camp. Bill Gothard was recently sued for decades of sexual abuse, and in 2014 he was kicked out of his own organization. In 2018 he was found technically trespassing at ATI's Big Sandy conference after an altercation with none other than Gil Bates. Erin Payne, born Erin Bates, had a birthday cake for Bill Gothard at her wedding, but has since renounced support of Bill Gothard, and her brother Lawson has stuck up for her. But they are still profiting off of Gil's position, and even Michaela's husband has a job at iblp. Gil was cited in the lawsuit for silencing Gothard's victim and trying to cover things up to save the reputation of the company. The Bates children are involved in quite a few creative and entrepreneurial pursuits. The older Bates daughters have their own modest clothing boutique and are pretty successful at it. Lawson has a mediocre country career. First of all, he does still have a mediocre country career, and I can't play this next clip. Second of all, does anybody know if the Bates girls still have that boutique? Because I know for a long time that was like how people found out that somebody was like courting one of the brothers, is because they would show up in the boutiques, or one of the girls would be wearing like a slightly more loose or like an extra medium top, and people would be like, oh, is she showing? Is she having a baby? Erin has put out a few piano albums, and Carlin is a singer as well. With every step that I take, all of my I do's are only vows that I make. So far, all of the kids are quiverful except Michaela, who is infertile. The cruel irony being that she could probably undergo fertility treatments or adopt, but that is against iblp beliefs. So let's pour one out for Michaela Bates. Sure as shit, somebody fucking commented and yelled at me saying that the Bates family is allowed to do fertility treatments, just not IVF specifically, and I am sorry, I guess. It was a fucking mistake. I was trying to point out that they can't adopt either because of fucking Bill Gothard's beliefs, but that doesn't mean that they don't do it anyway. Like, people are just gonna be fucking mad at me, even though I'm beautiful. Okay. The Bates are close friends with the Duggars, and some of their sons were involved in a scandal earlier this year involving their volunteer work after Hurricane Dorian. In September, several Duggars, including John David Duggar and in-law, Austin Forsyth. Long story short, they tried to commandeer a fucking military airplane and they put the wrong fuel in it and they were just making complete dicks of themselves, and they had Chick-fil-A helicoptered in. It was stupid. Watch the second Bates video for more information because James researched it heavily. While the Bates may be more palatable than the Duggars, they are still right-wing, closed-minded Bible thumpers who need to be kept at a distance. This show is pretty entertaining if you're into making fun of Fundies with friends, but keep in mind this is still quiverful propaganda. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I have some articles to read in the info box below. If you like my content, follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, and now Facebook. And remember to consensually smash that like and subscribe button. Wow, this is really a timestamp. 12 Days of Terrible Christian Movies has been re-released like every single Christmas, and it keeps getting taken down and blocked worldwide by various different media groups. So that's why when people ask me all the time, like, will you review such and such Christian movie? I've tried multiple times. A lot of them are behind some pretty strict copyright blocking, and I just got done having a copyright battle, and I'm not trying to do it again, but I'll see what I can do because it was a triumph. They were really funny, and yeah, R.I.P. the Terrible Christian Movies.
I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart to stay. And I'm so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. And if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on attack. Sit on attack.
Okay, now we're gonna watch Bates 2, which is pretty much going to be exactly the same, except I'm going to remove the advertisement and I'm going to remove the excessive bits of Lawson's music, just so he doesn't feel like it's necessary to copyright claim me again. Enjoy!
So Mom sets up this game, like there's all these tea bags and you're supposed to smell them. We thought, sure, this is easy. We have great sniffers.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Jen and this is Fundie Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism while I do my makeup. That's my son, and we're doing gentle parenting with him, and he's allowed to chew on his ball as much as he wants during my video, so I don't want to hear anything about it. Today's episode is a recap / current events surrounding the Bates family, and if you are a fan of this channel, you probably already know a little bit about the Bates, so we can probably just jump right in. The Bates are a family of independent fundamental Baptists. They are from East Tennessee, and they have 19 children, as well as too many grandchildren and in-laws to even list. Perhaps the Bates' biggest claim to fame is the fact that they constantly live under the shadow of the Duggars. Seriously, everything the Duggars do, the Bates do with more charming accents. They both have 19 kids, failed political runs, cops / pilots in the family, iblp connections, and of course, canceled TV shows. The parents of this family are Kelly Jo and Gil Bates. And yes, I do see the hilarity of his name being so similar to Bill Gates. And this is from the Fundamentalist Wikia. Gil began college at Anderson University where he met Kelly Jo Callahan. The two served on the same ministry team, and when Gil needed tutoring for his chemistry class, Kelly Jo was the lab assistant. The two then transferred to Carson Newman University in Jefferson City, Tennessee, and Gil proposed to Kelly while they were still in school. Gil and Kelly got married on December 19th, 1987. According to the story, Kelly Jo and Gil did not want to have any children, but I hear that story constantly repeated by every other Quiverful family, so who knows if they're telling the truth or not. The Bates are heavily affiliated with the Institute of Basic Life Principles. iblp, of course, was founded by Bill Gothard. He does not run things anymore because all of his sexual assault allegations have now come to light, and the organization is run by a board, and Gil Bates is on that board. Since the family is fundamentalist Baptist, they already do a lot of the familiar things that we hear about on this channel, like purity culture, modesty, biblical patriarchy, homeschooling, harsh corporal punishment, quiverful beliefs, and a buddy system. And since they are Gothardites, they have other random rules in addition to the other rules that they have to follow, such as being discouraged from working for somebody else for your income, and mandatory open-toed sandals. For more information on iblp, watch, I don't know, literally any of my videos. I talk about it all the time. subscribe. But I do have a main one that's called Bill Gothard and iblp, and of course any of the Duggar videos. We touch a lot on that. There seem to be a lot of videos out on YouTube right now breaking down the teachings of iblp, so this really shouldn't be breaking news to anybody. Gil sits on the board at iblp, and he and Kelly Jo are often given prominent speaking roles at Big Sandy and other events. They're all over the place when it comes to this organization. To me, the most damning evidence that Gil is not looking out for his children's best interests is that he allowed Bill Gothard to take his teenage daughters on various domestic and international mission trips, even after everybody was aware of the abuse allegations by Bill and his brother. Take a look at these photos from a 2011 mission trip with iblp to Romania. You can see quite a few Bates daughters here. And then there's also this. What kind of camp did you say? I don't know if I would be publicizing that. That mission trip was in 2011, and then in 2014 at Erin Bates' wedding, she had a birthday cake for Bill Gothard at the reception. So it just makes me a little confused when later Erin came out saying that she is against Bill Gothard and Lawson piped in to support her. So it's like, what is the truth? And I really think that Gil and the other board members think that since they got rid of Gothard from the organization, that everything's going to be fine now. They took care of the problem, when in reality, the problem is the whole system. If you have this ministry and homeschooling program that's based on the idea that women need to submit to men, you know, this harsh purity culture and victim blaming culture, and it just fosters this environment for sexual abuse. So, and we already have some pretty famous examples of people graduating from these programs, so we see exactly what can happen. The Bates did have a show called United Bates of America, and that was on TLC, and it got canceled for whatever reason, and then they were also offered a show on Up TV, where they stayed for several years until very recently. And I haven't seen as many episodes of the Bates show as I have the Duggars, but I have watched quite a bit of it. I will say that it is miles above the quality of the Duggars show. I mean, they at least do interesting things, from, you know, several of the kids and adults having these severe health issues that they talk about, or watching the growth of some of the sisters' businesses, and, you know, 3 or 4 of them have music careers, and you really can't say that for the Duggar family, because Amy Duggar does not count. The Bates haven't been rocked with nearly as many scandals as the Duggars, which puts them in a better light in the public opinion. With all that being said, their show was and still is incredibly popular, and it was probably the only reason why anybody was even buying Up TV. And of course, with all that fame comes lots of advertisement opportunities. There's no shame in that. I do it too, but I think they could work on their delivery just a little bit. It's a little obvious.
Purdue Chicken was the winner. I mean, it really was.
All right, so let's break down some of the adult children and what they're up to. The oldest is Zach. He's married to a woman named Whitney. She started along with Carlin and Aaron a cute little modest clothing boutique. As for Zach, he dabbled in politics in 2010, and he was actually elected for a term as Anderson County Commissioner at only age 21. He won his re-election fairly easily, leading a 5-person open field. You can tell that James wrote this section because I don't know what that means. In 2014, he would lose his race for mayor of Anderson County, losing a close race to fellow Republican Terry Frank, and this seems to be the end of his political aspirations. And I want to note that Zach and Trace, I believe, are actual legitimate police officers. Unlike Lawson, who is just playing pretend. I mean, I'm not a fan of cops, but he actually put in the work to get this job. I think he just recently retired because I just saw that episode of Bringing Up Bates, and he seemed like he was happy to start a new career. The next sibling is Michaela, sometimes called Michael. I do believe that they changed her name a couple times, maybe not legally, but they used to call her Michael online, and then I think people were like getting confused about her gender, and you know how that is in the Fundie world, so they were like, no, it's actually Michaela. So that's a little side tangent. And she actually became an LPN, and she got good grades, and seems to be doing really well. I know she helps out with the family a lot, and she even has a side business where she sells blankets and other baby linens. So it's good to see Michaela doing well and thriving and having her own career, and that's a pretty decent outcome for the way she was raised. So I'm proud of Michaela. As for Michaela's husband, his name is Brandon Keelan, and he is actually a videographer for iblp, and he produced a couple of children's books. The next sibling on the list is Erin, and she is married to a man named Chad Payne, and his dad is another director for iblp. So when I say that this family is entangled with iblp, I mean it. By the way, Chad's father, Stephen Payne, used to be on the board of directors for iblp, and I confirmed this by going in the Wayback Machine. He used to be on their page, and now he is nowhere to be found. Instead, they replaced him with Pastor David York, Gil Bates, and Tim Lewandowski. So take that how you may. It's kind of weird to me that they removed him from the website, because the Paynes have always been associated with iblp, especially if you go back on Kelly's old deleted blog. She was always hanging out with the Paynes and shit, so keep an eye on that, because that's sketchy. Erin is also musically talented, and she has played piano for quite a few of her friends' weddings, including several Duggar weddings. I just want to know why everybody's so mean to Erin, and they say that she plays piano too loudly, and it's like banging on the keys too loud. Because it's kind of funny when you think about it, and it's also one of those things like, what are you even accusing her of, playing too loudly? But I don't know, I just thought I'd bring that up, that people are mean about it. But I guess, she's in a racist family, so, and she had that Bill Gothard birthday cake, so maybe she does play piano too loudly. The next sibling is Lawson Bates. Lawson Bates, he's very charismatic. He's a longtime horse modeling enthusiast and aspiring country singer. Do you know how much it pains me to not be able to play long sections of this song? Also, why am I obsessed with making myself bigger in these? Look at this. Is that when he was younger, he was actually paying for a lot of groceries and other bills for the family. While that seems like a nice thing to do, that is unfortunately parentification, and in some cases that could be considered financial abuse. That's why it hurt so bad when Lawson striked the channel and tried to take the brand down, because I stood up for him. You know, I was pointing out the corruption in iblp, and I was pointing out that his family abused him and parentified him and took all his money. But no, he had to be a fucking jerk and strike the channel. And I also saw that he was poking around copyright claiming other people that talked about him on January 6th, so never forget Lawson. Lawson 19 plays a critical and multifaceted role. He started a lawn mowing business when he was 13 that makes enough money to provide a rolling no-interest line of credit to his parents and siblings. Gil and Kelly reject debt of all kinds, no mortgage, no car loans, or credit cards. Lawson is their only creditor. By the way, that might sound like a Dave Ramsey thing, and it very well could be, but I personally think that they got that from this guy named Jim Sammons, who teaches the Financial Freedom Seminar, which is, of course, an iblp program. We call him the bank financier because he is always lending to siblings or lending to us, or he's the one that always has money in the account when the rest of us don't, said Kelly Jo. Lawson loaned Zach $1,000 for a car and Aaron $2,000 for college. Also, I just want to state that I was not making fun of people from Tennessee or people who have southern accents. I just really like trying to emulate people and do impressions, and I was trying to sound like Kelly. $4,000 or $5,000 for, well, mostly just to pay bills, Lawson said with a laugh. They're good for it, Lawson said. Besides, I don't need the money right now anyway. Lawson also recently got engaged to actress Tiffany Espenson, and she is known for Disney Channel and Nickelodeon roles when she was younger, and she was recently in Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017. And I personally think that she is completely out of Lawson's league, but you know how it is in fundamentalism. The women have to bend over backwards to seem appealing, and the men, all they have to do is show show up. And I will say that she has a college degree, and although it is from Liberty, and we don't like the politics of Liberty, they are a real accredited college, and she worked for her degree. Nathan, I personally remember him as having a bunch of failed courtships, which is really sad, but he finally got it right and got married recently, and he even jumped out of a plane to come meet his bride. So, you know those Bates boys, always doing the most. After him is Alyssa. She's married to a man named John Webster. His dad is a career Republican politician who has held office since 1980. And he was first elected to the Florida House of Representatives. Notably, he was one of 126 representatives to give official support for the Texas versus Pennsylvania lawsuit, which sought to overturn election results in certain states that went for Biden in the 2020 election. This act was referred to by Speaker Pelosi as an attempt to subvert the election results. Webster also sat out of the second impeachment vote of Trump in January 2021, citing family medical concerns. The rest would be Carlin, who I'm going to talk about in a little bit because she's also been in trouble. Josie, who I really don't know much about. Katie, who I don't know much about. And the rest are little kids. So I guess I should have said, here's a biography about 5 of them. So sorry about that. I thought I had more prepared about the last couple ones, but I didn't. And now I want to talk about some old scandals from the last video before we talk about the new scandals. They used to have a wall in their house that celebrated heroes of the Confederacy, which means exactly what you think it means. I previously believed this. I don't anymore, or at least I want to give them benefit of the doubt because it is a serious thing to be accused of. I implied that Nathan was named after Nathan Bedford Forrest, and I don't think that's the case because his real name is actually Kenneth Nathan Bates, so I will give them leeway on that. But okay, all of this goes out the window because we know that they're racist because of the fucking George Floyd comment that Carlin made. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Medicorps because I barely touched on it last time. Founded in 2013, Medicorps stands for Medical Evacuation Disaster Intervention Corps, which is like putting your PIN number into the ATM machine. This organization was initially developed as a joint venture between Nathan Bates, John David Duggar, and a lesser-known physician named Dr. Eli Galopoli. And as recently as 2019, it is these 3 individuals that are listed on all legal and tax documents associated with the organization. And here is one of their tax returns, and you can see all the people there. By the way, anybody can start a company and call themselves the chief officer of whatever they want. It's almost like being able to go to the Universal Life Church and get ordained as a reverend. They have deployed to a reported 10 disaster sites, both domestic and international, and have set about providing flood rescue, transporting services, and clearing down trees and damaged roadways in the aftermath of storms. The last one, clearing trees, seems to be particularly appropriate for the Bates since their family has a tree cutting business. Medicorps seems much more interested in the image of being a rescue organization than in the actual nuts and bolts of rescue work. Case in point, when they helped fly a 8-year-old Filipino girl to the US for heart surgery. You know, let me be clear, I'm glad that the girl got surgery, but what the fuck does Lawson Bates have to do with that? Medicorps is also aligned with some other larger and much shadier Christian relief funds, such as Samaritan's Purse, which is operated by Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son. Medicorps is also aligned with the National Christian Foundation, through which their donations are processed and which clearly states on their website that they can redirect donations however they see fit. Perhaps the organization's biggest scandal came in 2019 during their relief efforts in the Bahamas following Hurricane Dorian. While the organization was initially fluffed by local reporters, with one news report calling Medicorps saints, that facade quickly cracked under the weight of this image right here. See, the supply of Chick-fil-A's mediocre homophobic sandwiches was running pretty thin in the Bahamas following the Category 5 hurricane, so this food had to be flown in by request, especially for these volunteers. So while other actual volunteers were sleeping in tents and surviving on rations to to provide the most effective relief they could, these coddled evangelicals were getting the same credit for eating Chick-fil-A and sleeping in air-conditioned comfort. Other reports from when they were in the Bahamas show that Medicorps staff were seen improperly commandeering the resources of other relief organizations, bullying local residents and other staff, impersonating law enforcement with guns and firearms, improperly utilizing and allocating resources, including the incorrect and unauthorized fueling of U.S. Navy aircraft, and attempting to bill for resources they didn't even provide. Just to clarify, these dopes filled a Navy jet with the wrong kind of fuel in a misguided attempt to seem like more competent white saviors than they could actually live up to be. And they tried to bill for the fuel that wasn't even theirs in the first place. And truthfully, it's hard to know what kind of support Medicorps actually does provide. They report having treated over 10,000 patients, but little is known about that and what kind of services they provide, or even if they're qualified to provide any.
But today, we've had a lot of doors open, getting into some spots, working with the fire department this morning, clearing some emergency routes, as well as we're getting into some homes of people that have been trapped and isolated, so now they can get out and start getting to get supplies, get to the stores, things like that. If you are trapped somewhere and you need to get out, let us know. Shoot us a message on our Instagram here, and we'll be happy to route you a direction.
Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, by all means, if you're trapped in your home, surrounded by water and without basic utilities, be sure to hit up Medicorps on Instagram, and they'll come and get you right out. The next big scandal was, of course, January 6th, Trace and Lawson, and let me be clear, they were not at the insurrection. They did not break into the Capitol and threaten to kill anybody. But they were at the Ellipse, which is the name of the park that was having a rally/protest about the election results. A lot of celebrities were there. A lot of news people were at that specific event. And then it did end up breaking off, and the other people went to the insurrection. So after Lawson was accused of being at the insurrection, he quickly went on Twitter to be like, no, I wasn't. I was at this other thing. And then, of course, the arrow that broke the quiver's back, Carlin posted on her Instagram stories. They were playing charades, and the category was hunting, and Lawson pretends to shoot his little brother, and then they correctly guess the category. Meanwhile, somebody yells George Floyd as their answer. And I can only assume that's to make some sort of joke about hunting people and or some sort of police violence.
Deer hunting. Oh, got it.
George Floyd!
Potato shooting, baby. Deer hunting.
Yeah, I got it.
Good day. He's on our team. Good one.
You just pick your own.
That was so easy. Why didn't you give him something harder?
Well, you could have thought of something.
Carlin deleted that post and then released this apology. It has been brought to my attention that something very inappropriate was said in the background of one of the stories I posted tonight. I disagree with sarcasm jokes and lighthearted comments being made that are disrespectful and hurtful, and I do not support the rudeness and hurtful words spoken on the story. I apologize for not paying closer attention to background content, and I'm deeply sorry for any grievance caused or offense taken by the story. This is probably the most sniveling, avoidant apology I've ever seen, and I put out the Brittany Dawn video. Carlin apologizes for lighthearted jokes from the background of a video and for any grievance or offense that she caused. She really couldn't be dodging the point harder if she were Neo, huh? And for the record, those lighthearted jokes aren't very funny to me because they're referring to the police-perpetrated murder of George Floyd, who was strangled to death for 9 minutes from the knee of an officer placed on his neck. The fact that Carlin thinks there's even anything remotely funny or lighthearted about this situation just demonstrates the incredible white and wealthy privilege that she comes from. And that's not even to account for the callous disregard for human life, her obvious racism, and her support of state-sanctioned violence. Carlin's naivete and ignorance were running gags on every Bates show, and when she was a kid, it seemed like a fun personality quirk, but now that she's a grown woman, a mother, and a voting citizen, this shit just isn't cute anymore. So shortly after all that, the Bates show was canceled, and UpTV announced that they weren't even going to play the final season that they had just got done filming. And they didn't say anything about Carlin's Instagram stories, and their given reason for canceling the show doesn't really match up with what people are thinking. They said, "We will not be premiering Bringing Up Bates Season 11 on UpTV as planned, as we will be focusing our programming in 2022 on movies and new scripted series to be announced soon. When we were premiering Bringing Up Bates, the series was focused on parents with 19 kids who were teenagers and young children. The cameras were there to capture the love, laughs, and big moments as the family continued to grow. Thank you to Gil and Kelly Jo Bates for welcoming viewers into your family's home over the past 10 seasons, the statement continued. I do think that UpTV knows that there is a big storm coming with anybody that has anything to do with iblp, and they were probably trying to get out ahead of that. And the other thing is, maybe they aren't lying, maybe they really are trying to do more movies and scripted shows. I pay for UpTV. I know, shame on me, but I watch the Bates, and I don't pay for UpTV anymore. I lost my password, and they wouldn't send me a new fucking email, like a new confirmation code. So what's up with that? And I do watch a lot of terrible Christian movies on there, and it is some low budget crap on there. And so I feel like maybe they just don't have any money, because then why did they cancel it after the Carlin thing? And why are they not releasing season 11? That's what I want to know. What was Carlin thinking? Because in the clip, you can see a camera crew in there. So were they planning on putting that scene on TV? I don't know. So I don't have an answer as for why their show was canceled. I think it's many things. And I guess we'll not ever know the truth, huh? If you want more information about this situation, I highly recommend the channel Gabs with Abigail. I recently just watched a video of hers and learned stuff about iblp that even I didn't know. So she's super smart, got a really sharp wit, and I think that her channel needs 1 million more views. So go check her out. Generally speaking, anything that I say about the Bates is something that's likely already been said about the Duggars, iblp, and the entire Quiverful movement at large. Suffice it to say, I think that the Bates were the glossy new model of the ideal iblp family, primed to step in. I'm having a hard time with the animals right now. I suppose that one of the few silver linings to Josh's horrific crimes is that his influence was so poisonous that it prevented the Bates from ever taking that next step. See, this family was polished and approachable enough that I think they would have survived the racism of Carlin and the insurrection activities of Lawson and Trace. But now, their significant associations with the Duggars have turned into a massive liability. I just wanted to show you guys how big Marshall has gotten since that video. Oh, I think I threw my back out picking him up. Marshall, he's so big. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I sure did. I have merch available, pages on social media, and remember, if you like this video, to consensually smash that like and subscribe button. As always, I have resources in the info box below, and I know what you're all wondering. Last time I did a Bates video, I did a whole little dance to the theme song, and it was super cute, and everybody loved it. So what can I possibly do now to top that? Well, I think you're really gonna like this. Can you hear Marshall? Anyways, before I show you the greatest music video to ever grace your eyes and ears, I will say I'm gonna be so fucking pissed if Lawson tries to copyright this. And I might have to fucking make some phone calls if he does that again. Please, leave my family alone! Like that farmer staring out across the dusty fields. There's one thing he needs to make the hurting heal. Baby, I want you to know the way it feels to have an answered prayer. I can be that guy, I swear. And I'm gonna roll in like a thunderstorm, softly rock you in my arms, steady as the river runs, strong as a hurricane. I wanna be the thing you need the most, be that song in your soul, the one you know is gonna wash your cares away. I wanna love you like the rain. Now some had promised you the sun would always shine, and I could see the broken trust there in your eyes. Oh, but girl, this love of mine is a different kind, and maybe if you can, go on and give me half a chance. And I'm gonna roll in like a thunderstorm, softly rock you in my arms, steady as the river runs, strong as a hurricane. I wanna be the thing you need the most, be that song in your soul, the one you know is gonna wash your cares away. I wanna love you like the rain. I'm gonna roll in like a thunderstorm, softly rock you in my arms, steady as the river runs, strong as a hurricane. I wanna be the thing you need the most, be that song in your soul, the one you know is gonna wash your cares away. Girl, I swear that I'd do anything to love you like the rain. I wanna love you like the rain. My toxic trait is thinking that I'm actually playing the guitar right now.
At least it's a bass.
All right, everybody. So that was Bates 1 and 2 Director's Cut re-release. No copyright infringement intended version of events. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's really been several years in the making, quite literally. Thank you to everybody who reached out and gave us contact information and or posted on our behalf when it came to the Lawson saga. It was very scary. I was prepared to have the channel be over. I went through all the stages of grief and everything. It was really a scary time. And hopefully he won't try to copyright claim us again. I don't know what his fucking deal is. I know that the laws for covers are sometimes different, but come on. This was satire, it was parody, it was transformed. I added several different audio tracks to it. It's people just want to be haters, I guess. Anyway, my version's better than his, and I would still like to make a diss track about him someday, an original song. Working on that. You know, I'm a reverend by trade. I'm not a singer-songwriter, so that might take a while. I think a couple of them have had babies since the last episode. A couple of them have gotten married. Who cares, honestly? Like, oh my god, a Bates person had a fucking baby? Like, yeah, and I smoked weed. Like, let's talk about some things that don't happen every day. You know what I mean? Thank you guys for everything you do. I love you guys. You're the best. Thank you for sticking around. And the next episode I put out is also going to be a re-release. So, but it's the Duggar video that did 2 million, and it got unfairly removed from YouTube by Discovery Communications, and that one will be a lot trickier to edit because it has a lot of lengthy clips from TLC, and you know, that's my fault, but at the time I got away with it. I think they didn't remove it until my channel got big, which is unfair. So I'm gonna re-release the Duggar video next Friday because I'm busy in my real life. Yeah, I am. I have hobbies and interests and friends. Yeah, one more time, I love you guys. Please drink water. That's something that I need to do more of. I recently got an espresso machine, and I've been drinking a lot of coffee. So I need to drink water. Please like, share, and subscribe. Consensually smash that button. All the buttons. Buy the merch. I still have the abortion fundraiser going on. That is the Duncan Darling stuff. Patreon, social media, article, podcast. Yeah. This dress is from Walmart, believe it or not. Anyway, bye-bye. I gotta get off of here before I fucking talk to you forever. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.